Drum roll. We are on. And it is Thursday, August 14th. And man, we have enough things to talk about. Whole heap of things. Whole heap of things. Because unless you're living under a rock, you must know that by now the Honorable Prime Minister and leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, the incumbent, basically fly the gate Sunday gone at 3:30. And by fly the gate, Jamaican expression, essentially bringing to the fore the announcement of the date of the next general election for Jamaica. And that is going to be on Wednesday, the 3rd of September. And that's basically just a smidgen over what is that? 2 weeks. Today being the 14th gives us, so it's a little under 3 weeks. And it is elections. Now, a big prize. The prize is the occupation of the crease of the Jamaican social, economic, and political administration. Well, let me rephrase that. Occupying the wicket for the political management of the economy, which provides the oversight for the economic and social. And of course, you are all familiar, if you've been following this thing. The prize big because on the one hand, the Jamaica Labour Party, who has been the administration over the last, well, we can basically now call it 10 years, is in the offing asking the electorate to put them back in for an additional 5 years, which would give them 2 or 3 political electoral terms. And there's a whole heap of discussion, going the rounds, backing and forth, slogans, running the thing, where the JLP slogan is "Choose Jamaica." Choose Jamaica. I thought everybody would live in Jamaica, and even some of us who are outside of Jamaica basically choose Jamaica. But catchphrases, people don't really pay attention to. Sometimes the people who coin these phrases are not even in sync with how the general population sees their argument, but it sounds good, so them run with it. And then on the other hand, the PNP has been using this particular slogan, "Time come," essentially saying to the JLP administration, is your time is over. Your time come for them to kick you out, for the voters, that is, to kick you out. And so, interesting. Let me say, though, just to get us started, that, happily, there hasn't been any real serious incidents that would mar the lead up to this election, and that is good. I am from the period of the 1970s, and I remember that like it was yesterday. By now, the political meeting difficult to keep because gunshot like rain and all kind of thing. So it's a nice thing that we have matured. Of course, that period lasted well into the 1980s, and as we got into the turn of the 1990s, we start to see a dissipation. And so there has been a lot of maturing that has taken place. And that notwithstanding, the two sides at each other's throats, but again, very little spillover into anything that one could call violent. And we hope that this will be the characteristic of this contest as we get to the third and beyond. Because at the end of the day, here's how I look at it. I remember said this. I remember as a young man, growing up in Jamaica in the 1970s, the as a Jamaican then, I benefited from some of the PNP policies. I will not underscore that. And to a large extent, it kind of determined the way how Jamaicans voted in that time. But then there was an ideological difference between the two political parties, the JLP, the PNP. And essentially what the PNP was about is a sort of a socialist model for those who never experienced that, where the focus is on the people of Jamaica. The late great professor Rex Nettleford spoke about the smaditization of the Jamaican population, meaning the ordinary, average Jamaican got an opportunity to step forward because of the kind of policies that were being pursued at the time, which lent itself to educating the electorate. In fact, during this time, Jamaica was the center of socio-economic thinking in the Caribbean. And, I kind of, in my own way, yearn for those days, because we kind of sadly lacking that. Political discourse, although some of it was a little garish in terms of the violence, it was pointed. It was based on the ideological differences that either side was not afraid to make those arguments. But we are where we are now. Let's look at where the JLP is asking for the voters to give them an extra 5 years. And they produced a document that, in their mind, underscores why they should be given those 5 years. And the Prime Minister kicked this off a couple of weeks ago when he was out in the streets himself, handing out these little booklets, which basically, as I said, outlined the accomplishments of the Jamaica Labour Party over the years. And it touched on a number of areas: the reduction in the debt to GDP ratio from some 141% of GDP to where it is now. I think it's about 68% of GDP, which is excellent numbers. It does provide, the country with the kind of economic breathing space to tackle social and domestic programs. There is the issue of crime and violence. Since the beginning of this year, the Jamaican police has been on a rampage in terms of, eliminating gunmen. I can't call it that because, essentially every time you see there's something in the news about a police gunman confrontation, the gunman comes second and them down a dead house, which has heightened the call. And I am not afraid to say that I'm one of the people behind that, because I believe that the role of the police is to provide protection, is to investigate criminal activity, crime, and to ostensibly, produce an investigation that leads to an arrest, and that arrest should result in the laying of charges against the individual and give them day in court. As it stands now, though, and I make no apologies for that, from the position that I operate from, it would appear to me that the Jamaica government is pursuing a model of cleansing, where we call, in other countries we say ethnic cleansing. Them are clean out people who they identify as gunmen or gunmen, because most of the man them are killed and thing. And so the police is basically making the role of the courts redundant. So there's no body that is being presented for trial. And I believe that is extrajudicial killings on the part of the police. Granted, we are, the country is happy, myself too, in terms of the reduction in murders, but the role is to bring the people to justice, and justice is administered in the courts. It can't be that the police is judge, jury, and execution. Most people, a majority of Jamaicans may disagree with me, but that is my thing, because I adhere to the rule of law. That's it. As a country that is a country of laws, we cannot continue along this line. But notwithstanding, the government boasts about the crime reduction, which if you call murder as the only crime, yeah, the results are there to show it. But that is not suggesting that crime in all the other areas have gone down. But they have made a dent, and for that, they give the government them credit as well. They talk about infrastructure rollout and so on. A lot of roads built and other public infrastructure. A lot of the addition of a number of and repair of a number of police stations and so on. The government is pointing to all of these things. Bottom line is, while the macroeconomic picture looks very, very good, the question that voters need to ask themselves is, am I better off? Remember, the JLP came to power on a wing of prosperity. And while it is inarguable that there is a fair amount of prosperity for some Jamaicans, that prosperity is not across the board. And so, my visits to Jamaica over time, and certainly as early as a couple of months ago, what I observed is that a lot of people are, people that I would tell you that things look good generally, but things don't look good for me. And so those are the considerations as we head towards elections. It's going to be a monumental election from a Jamaica political standpoint. Certainly, a victory for the JLP gives them a third term, which essentially breaks what one would have been prepared to call that cycle, where the electorate is not too prepared to allow one political party to hold the reins of government for such an extended period of time. On the other side is the People's National Party. Now, credit has to be given to the PNP, considering where they're coming from. If you will recall that in the 2016 election, they basically lost that election by 1 seat, except that you need to remember that the JLP took some 20 seats. By the time we got to the elections of 2020, the JLP took away some 21 seats from the PNP, and they changed the composition of the House. The JLP has had a significant majority, and the infighting and the fracturing between the PNP kept them out in the wilderness for the better part of the last 10 years. The party has done very well to bring itself back. A good slate of candidates, competitive with what the JLP has also put to the public. And so the question is messaging, right? I think we are all appreciative of the argument that has always been laid that Jamaica is a PNP country. Not me say so. That is what all of the analysts and the reporting has always been about. In fact, they would, the same people who make that argument will tell you that a lot of Jamaicans who supported the PNP, certainly especially with the last election, didn't go out and vote, particularly because of the fracture that existed within the party, with the Peter Phillips, Bunting, and Golding kind of a thing. political parties in Jamaica are like family for a lot of people. And so for a lot of people, that it cut deep. And, you know, they weren't too keen on where the thing seemed to have been heading. The party was rock bottom, kind of fracturing. And so a lot of the voters stayed home. Be that as it may, typically only 750,000 Jamaicans, right? 750,000 Jamaicans voted in the last election, right? Which is about just a little bit less than what voted in the previous election of 2016. And so the reality is that when you look at the votes, then the votes were split almost equally down the middle, right? There were only about, well, the JLP won 44 seats, but when you look at the margins that they won the seats by, it tells you again, it was a close election. And a large part of those victories, the JLP were winning seats by just a couple of hundred votes, 100 votes in some instances. But there were just about 28,000 votes that determined the direction of the election. That's not a lot of votes, right? And so one of the biggest call on the lips of the pundits out there now is turnout. It is my opinion that this is going to be a turnout election. Now, I see Errol Salke talking about on the matter of manifestos. Good subject here, Errol. How is it that the JLP is accusing the PNP of cutting and pasting parts of their manifesto when they have not made it public yet? I mean, I understand that thing. Didn't the PNP just put out their manifesto this week? The PNP launched their manifesto on Tuesday. So what and hasn't the JLP put their own manifesto out? Well, the document that was being handed out by Mr. Holness a couple of weeks ago is ostensibly, I can't say the manifesto being any different from that. So give me a little clarification. Who is the PNP is cutting and pasting parts of their manifesto. So you're saying that the PNP is copying the JLP manifesto. I don't know about that. But again, you know, let's look at that some more. Manifestos, though, in my opinion, I mean, it's always nice to have a document glossy and you put it out there. But we're in a different period, at a different time now. We're fully ensconced in the technological age, and this business of waiting until the evening of the thing to publish what your intentions are. If you either retain or you win the Jamaica House, what are you going to do? The argument is that people copy and thief your thing and thief your ideas and all of that. But my view is that if you have a solid idea, you put it out there, you use the media that is available. We are in a prolific social media, electronic media era. It's not anymore determined by radio and television, free to air, that currently exists. So you can put your arguments out there and talk to people. For me, that is what is missing from this election. And, you know, this business where wait until the 11th hour, me not buy that. You know, me think the two party them need to put out them thing and engage the public on what it is that they have intention. Now, if you tell me that a lot of the, you know, because a lot of the arguments I hear is that number of the things that the JLP is boasting on, these were ideas that were proposed by the People's National Party, and the JLP is just implementing them and taking full credit. My view, though, is putting an idea out there and actually taking the idea and turning it into something that is actually measurable. There's a big, big difference. And so I am not, I am not going to join the argument that say, boy, the JLP thief the PNP ideas and run with them. Because one of the things we want as a country is continuity. And so if my side was the government and them lose, but them had some good policies, the best thing for Jamaica is that the side that is coming in continues those policies. In fact, that's what the JLP did in 2016. They hardly came to the electorate with an economic, with any kind of an economic plan. They simply took what the PNP had been doing and they continued with it. And I don't see anything wrong with that, because that is where the maturity at the political level is demonstrated. If the idea is a good idea and it's good enough, it's going to benefit the population, continue with it. Don't need to change that. You see, the JLP did that with the PNP's fiscal policy, that today they are claiming that they are the ones who reduce the debt to GDP ratio from thing. What most of them will not tell you is that in 2011, when the JLP demitted office, the debt to GDP ratio went as high as 201%, because Audley Shaw, as the Minister of Finance, had abandoned the IMF agreement and Jamaica couldn't get chop and Subaru from not even best friend, right? And so we were borrowing money from the domestic commercial banks. We were borrowing from anywhere who would have lent us some money so we could have keep the country running. Because for the first time in the history of Jamaica, the country defaulted on its international obligations. So, and the PNP, who took office in 2011 and onwards, went on this drastic belt tightening economic policy, which by the time they left, the debt to GDP ratio dropped to 141. But the current administration just simply maintained that. In fact, they also put on a tax package on the country that is still being used by the current administration. That is why there was no need for the Holness administration to raise or to impose any new taxes. That is the kind of conversation that our politicians are not having with the electorate. And media is not advising or appraising the public of these issues. And so it looked like some people brighter than others. But the reality is, and I say it again, that the JLP basically continued whatever the PNP was doing at the end of their time in 2011. And that's the exact program that continued to this day, right? Who want to challenge that? I'm right here. Now, I see where Errol went the argument. Dr. Tufton and Favor Williams said as much on the evening news. Well, guess what? Tufton need to go probably see if him can borrow some money from him house and see if him will be able to pay KD Knight, because as the caption for this program talk about doctored tapes. Let's step back to Sunday gone when Christopher Tufton, Dr. Christopher Tufton, not a medical doctor, him is a PhD man, played a tape purported to be that of the voice of KD Knight, that is saying that well, according to him, KD Knight is saying to Jamaicans or to the PNP that the Jamaicans don't want Mark Golding as Prime Minister, right? Unfortunate for him is that KD Knight, as one of the most eminent, the most experienced legal minds in Jamaica, keep copies of his recorded copies of his representations. Once him go any public speaking engagement, him have the tapes, and so he presented the tape. And it was clear that the material was doctored, right, to suggest that this is what KD Knight said. And KD Knight has basically walked out with this thing and has now instructed his attorneys that if Friday morning come and him do thing, they might take Tufton to the cleaners. My information, Tufton was on the radio yesterday and doubling down, although I think it was one of them RJR program, Dan Jackson, I mean, I remember which one of them. But when they played the two different versions of the tape, and he is contending as if to say, why, I know him doctor the tape. Now, for a man with a PhD, you would have figured the man is bright enough to know that libel no mean that you originate the actual thing, you know. So in other words, him saying I know him doctor the tape, that don't mean nothing because him play the tape and he announced to the trunk in half a tree Sunday night that this is KD Knight and him said this. This is his voice saying this thing. That is what libel, misrepresentation, right, is all about. And him is a part of that libel because he not only did he play the thing, knowing, and even if him believe, say it is KD Knight says so. The fact is he played it. So he facilitated the libel, right? And that is what you would think that a man with a PhD would have known better than that, right? You would think so. Because even if you know, even you never have a PhD if you know that. You have talked about a man like KD Knight, whose legal stewardship is legendary across Jamaica. You know, them man now make them the kind of misstep there. Plus, them man they are more PNP than even Norman Manley and Michael Manley, right? So the man now go carry them political organization. In fact, the man are the elder statesman of the party. I him them everybody run to in a PNP when them have problem to see if him can, you know, them say you buy a baby to get them to relax and thing. I him them use. And Tufton, the radio, I carry on like say, because I name Dr. Tufton and him are the Minister of Health. That can save him. Well, him better go get some money because KD Knight now go ease up on it. Right? The man there, him could have all like Methuselah, him now ease up. And I'm only sorry more here. Right? You have to go come up with some strong can to deal with that. But I'm saying all of this to say what? When we as a country reach the stage of our existence where we don't care about how we injure other people, when we go up on political, this is not the House of Representatives where you can say that and you get away with it, you know, because you're in the house. A street you're there, right? And it tells you the content, in my mind, that Tufton and a lot of these politicians have for the people of Jamaica. It also tells you the contempt that you hold your whole electoral process in. It's contemptuous. And especially for somebody who ought to know better, right? If you are going to have to resort to that to try to get a forward on a political campaign, right? You're the Minister of Health and you get a speaking opportunity. You don't have to be up there buttering up your party leader thing, because he have film opportunity to do that. You need to say, use your time at the microphone to speak to your constituents and then to the wider Jamaican constituency in respect of the portfolio ministry that you head and what you are doing with the ministry, right? Maybe explain to people why Cornwall Regional, after nearly how much years, 2-3 score of years, we still have spent so much money on Cornwall Regional, and 10 years after the JLP in a power, them can't fix up the hospital so they can come to use. Them can explain to people why you have this significant, continuous overrun in terms of the cost relative to the completion of the hospital. But no, you jump and you go on and you pick from, you know, you want a political forward. We have to do better than that as a country, right? These people must recognize that the people who vote for you, them expect better than that. And you know, I want to say this to the public out there, right? It's all the more reason why, as Jamaicans, people need to get up out on the bed next week, on the 3rd of September, and go vote. It don't matter who you vote for, you know, whoever you vote for, that's your choice. But I think Jamaicans need to send a strong message to the political class that we're not gonna sit down now and we have a voters list of 1.9 million and only 600,000 or 700,000 people are come vote. Because what that is saying to the people with not the best of intentions who have access to political power is that because of the low participation, you can do and say just about anything and get away with it. Because in general, you don't think the people out there are too concerned with participating in the process. Think about that, right? My view is I don't care who people are going to vote for. Jamaicans need to get up out of your bed and go and vote, right? There are countries in the world where the citizens don't have this right. Here in America where we live, them are trying to take out people vote if them can get away with it. And in Jamaica, there are no encumbrances. People need to get up and go vote. It's not about what politics are going to do for me. You have to recognize that you have a responsibility to your family and to your broader Jamaican countrymen and women to participate in the process. Because if you don't, we'll quietly head back to the point where other people have voted for you, or people who are of a different persuasion are making decisions about the governance of this country that is going to negatively affect you simply because you don't participate in the process. You don't have to like the politician, eh? You don't have to like who you're going to vote for, you know, because them not come in your yard, come sit down at your table and eat dinner with you. Them not sleep in your bed with you. You need to get up and go there and go vote. Participate in the electoral process, right? Now, two other things I wanna shine some light on. But before we do that, let me just invite you guys out there, you know, to I have a you know, a couple of books that I have published over the years, and my latest is called here it is, Unbroken Sheila 2.0, and it's available on the if you're on the website at yardmedia.com, or you can purchase on amazon.com. And nice novel, you know, talk about the Jamaican spirit, young woman who has defied all the odds to get herself to where she is. A true Jamaican story of resilience. And I'm, you know, inviting you to your support. If sign up on the website, order on the website, and I get you a signed copy. And you can buy this book in Jamaica as well. You can, you know, go on amazon.com if you're Jamaica, and you can still buy the book, right? Or you and Amazon deliver to you as well. So, you know, support the thing, because we have to keep the Jamaican experience alive. Now, a point that crossed my eyes recently, I think 2 days ago, was that there was a document, well, the Observer newspaper published an article that showed where the apparently, according to the Observer, there was a false document being, no, let me rephrase that. They were contending that the Governor General's office had sent out a document which listed the election as Thursday, September 3rd, right? And this is the Observer of August 13th. That was yesterday. It was in the Observer of yesterday, where it says a proclamation from the Governor General of Jamaica dissolving Parliament and appointing the country's election day was submitted on Monday, listing the country's polling day incorrectly. And the proclamation seen by the Observer lists the country's election as Thursday, September 3. It also indicated Parliament is to be dissolved on Friday, August 15th. And it gives you a readout. Now, today, though, there is coming from the Governor General's office. The Governor General is saying that document never come from their office, right? And I also recognize that the Gleaner was publishing some retraction. Not well, they're publishing some alerts that people are out there using the Gleaner, the Gleaner brand mark, and posting stuff on social media as if it was coming from the Gleaner. Again, people need to be vigilant, right? According to the Governor General, he didn't know where that come from, and he went and published the actual document, which showed that they signed off on the gazetted order from his office, which says that the election is going to be on Wednesday, the 3rd. Now, my question, though, is how people benefit from this? Is it that our political process has become so depraved, or is it that somebody is not happy with allowing the process, the whole process of election, to go by without interference? Because to suggest that the election is Thursday as opposed to Wednesday, once that kind of publication is out there, it is already muddying up the thought process. And we don't have, not everybody in Jamaica have a college degree or high school education, right? And so is it that somebody is trying to mislead the voters into thinking that the election is another day as opposed to Wednesday? You know, are we that depraved as a people? Maybe somebody either do it for a joke, because the Governor General said he never signed nothing like that, and he has publicized. Many of them pull up the document that he presented, but it begs the question, why? Why? By the same token, spoke to a lady this evening where she said somebody reached out to her. Remember, nomination day is Monday coming, and nomination day, an election is dependent on what happens on nomination day. So all of the people who hope to run for a constituency have to present their nominating documents to the different divisions where the nomination process is being held. You know, with that, them qualified to run as a candidate in an election in the respective division. One girl, she said somebody approached her and tell her to run as an independent candidate. Now, she is a candidate. She lives in an area where, if because of her publicity, her profile, if she put her name on a ballot paper, people who know her, them probably Jamaica people now read the whole ballot to say it don't have a bell or a head beside it or something else. And you know, we vote for her, which takes away those votes from the main the two main political parties. Now, the point is she not interested. She said them offer her $10 million. 10 million. Somebody said to her, if you get 10 million, would you do it? Right? Stafford Shan. Welcome, Stafford. Good for sale. Right? 10 million. Now, clearly, somebody out there, one of them put one party not very comfortable. And if you are the governing party and you're not comfortable enough that whatever it is that you have done can provide you with the requisite amount of votes so you are able to realize your objective without having to resort to all of these underhand approaches. Things bad. Things very, very bad. Right? And so, for me, you know, me think we're bigger and better than this as Jamaica. That, you know, because this is what you call election interference. And one would believe that if we are a 63-year-old democracy and we can respect the right of the voter to go to the ballot box and mark him X or whatever against whoever them choose, right? That we feel that it is necessary to put together other people who will split the votes. That's because that's what that is all about. No third party candidate in the current environment can win no seat in the Jamaican parliament. That's not going to happen. Certainly not this election. And it never happened at any previous election before. So the idea behind that is to take votes away from one side or the other, right? And it means that one of the two parties them is involved with that access. It is your guess which one of them it is. We have to do better than this, right? Because if it's that important to you, right, and you can win the voters' support by appealing to them, if you are the opposition, this is what we are going to do, or how we are going to make your life better, right? It is for them to make that case. If you are the government, this is what we have done, and this is how much more we are going to do. If you are the government and you can say so by virtue of the work you have performed so far, right, then you deserve to lose. Because if things are good, you know, then you shouldn't have a problem. We have to do better than that. My view is that as a people, as a country, we have to do better than that. To muddy the water, the electoral water by reaching out. No, me know say money a drop for buy vote, you know, right? Money, whole heap of money out there. May I watch this thing with the bus, the school bus thing, and me have no iron in the fire, so we can talk free. Because if the government allocate $1.4 billion for a school bus system, the most expensive part of the school bus program ought to have been the purchase of the buses. Them spend under $300,000 for 110 decrepit buses based on thing, you know, and I'm a little disappointed with how the PNP went after this thing, because quite honestly, a school bus program is a necessary thing for Jamaica. But couldn't we have bought buses that are more suitable for the Jamaican roads and buy those buses in Jamaica from an established importer, right? Who won't have to do no retrofitting or anything. Those buses come, you pay for them, it come with a service contract with the dealer, and you deliver. So, may I ask a question? is it that this 1.4 million is some part of it a rare money for run election? You know? May I ask, what do you think? Because the bus them not cost $1 billion, you know. Some of the bus them have 80% of the engine life gone already. So why would we go buy all broke? Bus come here and you claim it have you know, investigation. You get people who went up and examined the buses and them come here and they tire them a bus out the road. Them buses not even built for drive on the Jamaican road because them, if you me live here. And when you see them on the road at daytime up here, them take up a whole heap of space. So you imagine that on the road and let out the picnic them in the middle of the road when them stop. Jamaica people don't know that when most of the people them drive a road, a lot of them can't even reach. So they stop sign, fling out and say, you have to stop, and them don't know what it means. Right? Keep in mind, me have a problem with the school bus thing. None whatsoever, because we think it is a necessary thing. But why couldn't we have gone to Toyota Jamaica or one of them company and said, give me 150 bus and array, and we can even get some duty waiver too, right? Because it's a school bus government program. Somebody will make a money. Me say so. I don't care who I'm back, so me say so. Right? But having said that, the school bus thing, the concept of it, the idea of putting a school bus out. Remember too, this is not an original idea by the JLP. The PNP first mooted a school bus program all the way back, I think it was 2012 or 13, thereabouts. They started a pilot program in Clarendon with the plan being to photocopy it into the other parishes over time. And for whatever the reason, the idea fell by the wayside. Maybe money, because Jamaica will never have enough money to stop a stale-bred cat, so who knows. But we could have found nearly $1.5 billion to do the same program now on the eve of an election. And the bus them, instead of you have them in some garage, change the door them from the, you know, open out on the street to where it open on the sidewalk. Where the current administration of the bus them are drive up and down or use it as election what you call it, election tool, props, right? And it have created even more embarrassment because them are driving them broke down the street. We have to do better than this. Me is a Jamaican. Me is not a PNP or a JLP. Me is a Jamaican, right? And me think that the argument being floated regarding the corrupt practices in Jamaica needs to be addressed, right? The voters out there are full of time. This is the one time in 5 years where all politicians were up for election or listen to the electorate, right? I mean, believe that the electorate need to speak with a clear voice. Do we want to continue with the unbridled, unmitigated, corrupt practices that removes resources from the pockets of poor people and put in the pockets of people who would have need the money? Right? Do we want to continue with that, or do we want to move forward to an era where we don't have to deal with that? Those are the questions that this election is asking, right? If you believe that the corruption thing is not important and you are agreeing that, yeah, the administration has done well, even though none of it now benefit you, and you're figuring that maybe over the next 5 years it might benefit you, you need to vote based on your conscience. But it's important that Jamaicans get up off our backside and go out and vote, right? If the election wasn't important to some people, people would not publish documents from purporting to be from the Governor General office that election is Thursday when a Wednesday. Because somebody benefit from that kind of thing. If the election wasn't important, people like again, Dr. Tufton wouldn't produce a doctored tape and then be out there stoutly defend the indefensible, right? Because they believe them can, just float things over people's head and, my side and rave. So Jamaica people, the future, the kids are come up is at stake, right? Do we want a school bus system where the bus them are brought on a road, right? Where we pay money to people for services, goods and services that is unserviceable and nothing happens? Or do we want to hold people accountable for the decisions that they make? Those are the considerations. My personal view, it doesn't matter who is running the country, as long as they are looking out for the majority of Jamaicans, that we address the issue of corruption, the lack of opportunities in the country, right? That people who put themselves up for public office, people who say that them out there and them are run for the betterment of Jamaicans, that them know so them answerable to the people of Jamaica, right? Them not a law unto themselves, right? That's what this election is all about. The electorate need to send that message, right? Me, I don't care if you change one group this 5 years and the next 5 years, them do shit, you get rid of them and you're bringing back the next set again. Because at some point, it will level off, right? But if you believe that some of the stuff where me I talk about is important and you're good with what go on, just get up off your behind and go vote, right? We have to break the back of this cycle where a third of the electorate is participating in an election, right? That's what we want to do. So I am going to encourage people again. Take the time and go out there, right? And vote. Vote because the future of Jamaica depends on it. And because your kids and your grandchildren is going to be dependent on that, right? That's all the time we have for this evening. We're going to continue the discourse. Next week, Wednesday, we're going to take a look at some other issues as the nomination exercise runs off. We're going to take a look at some of those people who are offering themselves up, and we think. So until that, more time, people. Again, check out the book from the website, Unbroken, Sheila 2.0. And while you're there, take a look at the top rankings. That is also available. And again, these are stories about us Jamaicans, written by people who live the experience, So go out there and check it out. And again, until such time, more time.